Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Divine Beacon. This is April, and today we're going to talk about the second video in a series of 3 about purging. And today it's about digital purging and organizing. And just like with the material video, I just want you to be kind to yourself and take your time, whatever you need in order to do this. You don't have to do it every day, every week. You can do it once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once a year, when you do your spring cleaning, however you want to handle it. These are just some tips and tricks from me to you. So I want to start out with the computer, but we're going to go through computer, email, phone, TV, and then lastly, some personal electronics. So my computers. I watched this comedian, Jim Gaffigan, and he talks about all the computers he's had to think about getting rid of in his stand-up, about how he had a computer for his single life, his work, his wedding, his first child, his second child, et cetera, et cetera. And, we all have a plethora of electronics now, and I just challenge you to figure out what it is you actually need. I had 2 desktops, a laptop, an iPad, my phone, and a work computer. That's way too much. So now I'm down to just a laptop and my desktop at home, and I have my phone that I travel with. So you decide what works for you, but in order to get rid of them, this is a good tip. I just searched under electronics disposal near me in Google. You type that in and it will give you options or, a list of companies that might be able to help you. There were several here in Tampa that will pick up your computers for free. So all you have to do is schedule it. Now, when you're getting rid of stuff like that, just please be cautious and wipe whatever you have on those electronics, just to make sure no one has your data or information. With computers in particular, some people just pull out the motherboard and destroy it and then give the rest of the contents to the disposal company. Up to you. Something I came across when I was doing my office purge, which I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, I had discs. I still had floppy disks and regular, hard disks, and I didn't have anything to even read those anymore. So kind of made me laugh, but it just goes to show you, you got to go through your stuff to be able to see what you have and get rid of what you're not using. If you have anything like that and you haven't needed it in years and years, obviously, then just get rid of it. There are other companies out there that can read them for you and put them on disks if you really need to do that, and you can look that up in your local area as well. So how do I save info? I go through and I have 3 ways that I save my files. One is on my PC, one is through external hard drive, and one is to the cloud. Now you can decide, if you need to have that many or if you'd rather do it another way, whatever. I have a hard drive here. It's external. You just plug in the USB into your computer and you can move all your files over, a copy of all your files. It's so cheap now. Memory's so cheap. It's really kind of a no-brainer to do that. I have to do it because of my side business with my art. I can't afford to lose those files because once I sell things, I don't have them anymore. So it's really up to you. Some people even have a 4th level of backup, but I don't know if you need to go to that extreme if you're not doing what I'm doing as far as art. So just think about how you can back those up, and then you can get rid of all that other stuff that you're not using, all those other PCs or desktops that you're not using. So removing apps is another thing that we all need to do, and subscriptions. I went through and found that I had a couple of software subscriptions that I haven't been using in a while, so I got rid of those and canceled those. You can go in on the apps on your computer and look to see if you're using them, just to clean up your computer. Even if you want them on your computer but you don't want them on your home page or in the start menu, you can move those. You can just look up how to do that for whatever you have. My files. So this is a biggie. How do you keep organized with your computer files? Now, you have to have a naming convention that works for you. I'm going to give you a suggestion, but I just challenge you to work on whatever, it is working or might work for you. There's a lot of other articles and YouTubes out there on how to do it, but One way I do it is I do it by year and then by type. So for example, 2018, I have a master folder for my art, for my work, for my personal, and then within those folders, I have subfolders of everything that's kind of in bigger buckets. Now, you don't want to go any more than a couple of clicks to try to find something. In that yearly folder, I have everything all together in one 2018 folder. So even though I split them up in these other buckets by art, work, and personal, I can still go to that 2018 folder and pull everything up all together and sort that way if I needed to, because I can't remember where, which bucket I put it in. So that's really helpful to me. I do the same thing with photos. So if you have photos or photos, either on your phone or your computer, another great way to do that is by year. You could do it by year and then have a subfolder for events. So maybe within 2018, for example, you have a folder for birthdays, and that could include yours and anybody else's. You can have one for trips. You can have one for work. You can have one for art, whatever it is that you take a lot of pictures of or are doing a lot of. So think about it that way. That helps you to keep things organized, family, etc. But again, don't get too detailed because then you won't be able to find them within a couple of clicks. All right, so that's the computer part. Now we're going to go on to emails. So I got this tip from a friend of mine. She and her husband have an separate email from their personal email address that they give to vendors and subscriptions and salespeople, so that any kind of coupons or anytime you're logging into somewhere that says they need your email address to move forward, they give that email address separate from their personal email address, which is really kind of helpful. It separates what's advertising from what people are sending you personally. So I think that's a really great idea to try to help you manage emails and what's important and what's not. So again, just like with the computer files and the photo files, you can do it by year. If you say, April, I have 20,000 emails in my email folder right now, and I don't have the time to go through all those and put them in separate folders. Okay, no problem. If you want to start now, I would put them in a folder by year and just move them out so that your inbox is clear. And then you can start from there to sort or create a 2019 folder with some subfolders that kind of are larger buckets of what you're doing. I have one for clients, one for graphics design work for my clients, one for art clients, one for personal, bills or vendors, etc., that send me an email to that other email address. So just think about how you're going to manage that so you can quickly find what you need. Some people, when they go into their inbox, they clear it out every day. I'm not one of those people. If I need it, I will put it into a folder. If I don't think I'm going to need it later, I just leave it in the inbox, and then you can put it in the yearly folder all together as a group. Okay, so think about how you're going to manage it and how that works for you. Some people will go in and unsubscribe to an email or two a day. That's easy to do when you're going in to check anyway. This makes it a little easier to try to manage or try to sort this stuff out before you take it all on in one sitting. Nobody can do that. So just be kind to yourself and taking your time in doing this. So if you get an email that you can't unsubscribe to, then just put it into your spam folder. Then anything that comes in the future will go into your spam automatically, and you don't have to manage it anymore. So that's one way to help. So that's computer and email. Now we're going to go on to phones. And phones, they're a big distraction to all of us, but these are a couple of things that I do. I remove any apps that I'm using, and I also organize my apps into subfolders or sub-squares. I have an iPhone 8, and you can put like apps together. And so, for example, I do one for health, one for social, one for GPS, et cetera, travel. I've seen people that have pages and pages of apps and they have to like scroll through to scroll to the left in order to find what they're looking for. It's really up to you. It just makes it easier for me. Again, if you like it where they're all on the actual desktop of the phone and you're able to scroll through and find them and you're used to it, that's okay too. Notifications and alerts, you have to go in and figure out, what you have as far as controls for whatever phone you have, but usually within the phone and the apps, you have controls about notifications and alerts. I don't like getting any of them. I want to be able to go into the app that I want and look for what I want when I'm ready. I don't want my phone, alerting me every 5 seconds of notifications. That's just me. And you have different levels of notification. So for example, I don't have to be notified on my phone, but I can be when I go into the app. There's usually a notification section and you can see all the notifications for the day. All right, so this is a way to keep your mind from being distracted all the time. I highly suggest it. So social site restrictions, say that 3 times. I restrict myself from going into the social sites, and I don't stay in there very long when I am in there. If it does show me in there long, it means I walked away. So I go in and usually for 5 or 10 minutes, check messages, check notifications, check to see what is in my feed for the last 10 minutes, and then I'm out. Or I'll post something work-wise if I need to. So my friends call me the social media person because I come in and I get out and I'm never in there. So just figure out what works for you. I really, would suggest that you restrict your time on there as much as you can, only because it's a huge distraction, and I'd rather be living life and really experiencing something than actually being on there watching everybody else live there. So think about it that way. And then account management on my phone. So in my contacts, some of my contacts, not all of them, I have my account number, and sneakily in the notes I'll put a sneaky way of putting my passwords in there. If you're not comfortable with that, there's a lot of apps out there, and I've used one in the past for passwords. You just go to the App Store and type in passwords, and there's a lot of apps that'll come up. They're supposed to be ultra secure, so you can keep every password that you've ever had for any kind of app or software that you have. You can keep it all in one spot. It's up to you. So that's phone. Now we're going to move on to TV, and this is a biggie. So if you have any subscriptions you're not using, go in and unsubscribe, call them and cancel. A lot of people get HBO, for 3 months for free, and then they forget and start paying for it or whatever. Just make sure that you're using everything. I just recently changed my HD package to a regular standard package because I wasn't really using it. So it's a waste of money. Another way to save money, I DVR everything that I really like, which is like 3 or 4 shows. It's really up to you how you manage this and how big your family is, but it's a time saver. I can watch an hour-long show in a half an hour by skipping through the commercials. So think about how you can DVR so that it saves you time, and when you are ready to sit down for an hour or so to watch TV, you can watch what you'd like. So getting rid of DVDs, just like with music and CDs, I still have some DVDs. I have like 30 or 40 that I can't let go of yet. I'm not ready. I have a Blu-ray that I can play them on, but most of us don't have DVDs anymore. I asked some friends and family around me if they still have DVDs. Most of them do not. You can sell them on the selling apps, OfferUp or Let Go. You can donate them to your library. You can give them to Goodwill or Salvation Army. There's a lot of music stores. Whatever you want to do with them. But if you haven't put them in the DVD player in the last year, then just get rid of them. You can always find that movie again if you need to, and or burn them, or save them and put it away, so at least you have the space. But if you're not using them, I would get rid of them. So cable versus not cable. This is something I've been toying with for a while now. I am actually thinking about cutting off my cable service, only because I've been restricting myself from news, and a lot of I don't watch reality television, mostly documentaries, and I'm not interested right now in hearing all the negativity that's going on. So that is me personally. I know there are a lot of people who feel differently. They want to know what's going on. I just challenge you to figure out what that is and what source you're using to get that information. I've basically told my friends and family, unless it's diabolical, like a hurricane or the government's collapsing or we're going to war, I don't want to hear about it. So I make them my watchdogs for me and say, if anything big's going on, let me know, because I'm not watching anything. And that's just my part of my spiritual purge right now, is to take out any negativity or anything that cloud my mind like that. I don't know if it's going to be forever, but right now that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for Apple Plus to come out in November. Really excited about that. I want to see what the ratings are and what it actually ends up being and what's available through it. But that will help me make my decision about the cable purge and getting rid of cable. So lastly is personal electronics. And I had a radio from my grandfather that still had a tape cassette player. I had a stereo in the art studio I wasn't using. CDs, a lot of CDs, like a whole bookcase full of CDs. I had cameras that I wasn't using, gave some of those to family. iPods and Nanos for music that I don't use anymore. Old phones. I had an old BlackBerry that I don't think anybody even wants anymore, but I'm gonna get rid of it through that disposal company. Stuff like that. Just go through and get rid of all that stuff that you're not using. Again, I can't tell you how freeing it is and how good it feels, how together and adult I feel that I've gotten rid of all those things, and now I'm managing things a lot better. So another last tip is I have 2 bins. One is in my kitchen for all the smaller electronic wires that I need. So for phones, cameras, remote speakers, etc., etc. I label them on the actual wire. You can buy labelers. They're really inexpensive, so that when I'm in that bin, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I actually rubber band the wire together so I can see the label and it's all together and I'm not tangled up in a bunch of wires or what have you. So think about doing something like that. It's a huge time saver. And then the large cords, I have another bin in my den with all of the, electronic power cords, the bigger stuff, and the long extension cords that have multiple outlets, etc. So again, I got rid of a lot of those. I had multiples all over the place, and once I put them together, I realized I don't need half of those, so I got rid of them. But it's good to know where they are. Somebody actually bought a whole giant box of all my extra electronic wires. Couldn't believe it. They wanted all of it and paid for it. So think about how you might do that. Okay, well, that's it for today, guys. I hope that was helpful. Again, if you have anything that you do that I didn't mention, just put in the comments. Love to hear it. Love and light to you. Ciao for now.